Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Football Manager 2022 is very almost upon us, and ahead of its release, Sports Interactive have given me access to the game early to produce a couple of videos for you. Today, we're going to take a look at my favourite features, the top 10 in FM22. I hope you're excited for this. If you do enjoy the video, smash a like on it. Stick around to the end of the video to find out how you can win a copy of the new Football Manager. And well, without further ado, let's get into this. So coming in at number 10 in this countdown is something that I think we're all going to be happy about. If you manage in a league with VAR in FM21, there's a lot of sitting around, isn't there, for the referee to run to the screen. Well, I'm pleased to report VAR is just better. And it's not something that they're going to sing and dance about over at Sports Interactive. But if you're sick of watching a referee always run over to a screen, if you're sick of only seeing goals be ruled out for offside when it goes to VAR, you are in luck. This year in FM22, it is much improved. I've seen way more variety in the outcomes, a little bit more suspense. Still don't really know if I like VAR in football, but the good news is, at least in FM, it is that little bit more engaging this year. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be a little bit competitive. I can definitely be competitive. I want to see my players win all the awards. I want to win Manager of the Year every year. Well, there's something new to strive for in Football Manager, because at the end of the league season, you will see a top 5 signings of the season. I feel like the big challenge here is to win it, you know, with all of your signings. But yes, if you have a great year where you delve into the market, the game, it's going to give you a little pat on the back. It's going to tell you, you know what, well done, that was good business. And whilst it is a very, very minor tweak, anything like this that just is something I didn't really know I needed is going to be a nice addition. And I think it's a nice way to really get a better idea of just how good you are in the market as a manager. Now, the one at number 8 probably could be a little bit higher, and I'm sure for some of you guys, if you're aware of this, it will be a little bit higher. Stamina has been completely overhauled in FM22 in terms of how it works in the match engine. If you play a Gengar press through the entire game, your players are obviously going to get more tired more quickly, and when players get fatigued in FM22, mistakes will creep in. Loose first touches, mistimed passes, poor decision making. Heck, players will start to slow down a little bit more. In FM21, players play 100 miles an hour at all times. They will constantly press. There's no need for a player to take a breather. In my brief time of FM22, I started to notice players not always pressing the ball. They would work in sprints, much like in real football. Teams can't just press all the time. There are times where players need to collect their breath. And if in FM22, you definitely see that a lot more. Players conserving themselves. As I said, the reason this isn't higher is just because it's hard to quantify, see exactly how it's working at the moment. But if it works the way Sports Interactive seem to want it to work, it could be pretty huge for increasing tactical variety. Suddenly, the option of playing slowly for the first 60 minutes, wearing down an opposition, the Homer Simpson boxing approach, could work wonders. And then, you know what, with 20 minutes left, you can really go for a team after they've tired themselves out. And that, to me, that's pretty exciting. In at number 7 is an addition that when I saw announced, I rolled my eyes at it a little bit. I'm going to be honest. I was very kind of, staff meetings? Really? A feature? Headline feature? Well, let me tell you now. If you're someone like me in FM21 who ignores the little circles, you know, staff advice on every single player profile page, I feel like this addition makes it a bit more palatable. It makes it a little bit more digestible. It basically means that all that advice that was scattered across all different pages is collected in one singular place. And whilst I like to think I'm quite good at Football Manager, there are times where I forget stuff. And when I was playing through the game, these meetings did do a pretty good job of either reminding me of stuff that I maybe thought but hadn't acted upon. In some cases, you know, suggesting additions to the backroom staff, suggesting player traits that perhaps I just hadn't thought of at the time. And whilst that all existed previously in Football Manager, it was very easy to ignore. Staff meetings bring it all into one place. Really, really nice. Also worth noting, in FM21, you couldn't train players' weaker feet for whatever reason. That is back in FM22, which is a really, really nice thing. And when you go into staff meetings, you'll see that recommended quite a lot. But yeah, all in all, staff meetings, a good one. I think especially for newer players, you'll find it useful. But even for me, someone who likes to think I don't need to listen to my backroom staff, I can see myself using this throughout the year. Okay, this next one is quick. But auto saving's really good now. What do I mean? Auto saving's really... Let's just show you. So auto save, we've all been there. You're going for a summer transfer window. You've got fortnightly auto saves on, and 10 days in there's a power cut, or 10 days in your computer just decides it wants to die. That doesn't matter anymore. In the auto-save options, there's a few new options, including real-time saving, so every 60 minutes in real time, or 30 minutes in real time, you can have Football Manager save your game. As I said, this is not the biggest change, let's be honest, but it's one of those ones that once it's added in, I'm never going to go back to an old Football Manager because I would just miss it. It's one of those things that I think we're going to take for granted throughout the year, and if you're like me, and you leave Football Manager running a lot, you like to play through it quite slowly, it's a really nice option to have. Up next, we have the changes to deadline day. When I saw this announced, I will level with you. I thought to myself, I don't leave my transfers to the last minute. I get my transfers done the previous summer. Like, I'm planning that far ahead. If you're leaving things to deadline day, something's gone very, very wrong. But that's different this year. And look, the deadline day feature itself, it's a new skin, everything goes yellow and dramatic, but there's some really useful additions with this. It allows you to track transfers in your own league, it allows you to see all your players' contracts expiring in one place, players in your squad who have a little bit of interest in them, as well as players who get offered to you on the regular through deadline day. Now, one thing I noticed in my brief time that I've had with FM22 hands-on is that throughout the summer transfer window, as you approach deadline day, if a player wants out, if a player's transfer listed, their asking price will get knocked down more and more. Heck, even if they don't want out, transfer sagas felt a little bit more run out. So if you do decide not to do all your transfer business early, I think you are actually going to get some really, really good bargains. You know, by holding out and, well, not spending money early, you're probably going to get a little bit more bang for your buck. For me, the thing that makes me most excited is just having a little bit more variety and being rewarded, perhaps, for not spending all your money early. Okay, so this next one, it's not going to appeal to everyone, but to me, this is one of the biggest changes in Football Manager this year. I've wanted this for over 10 years. Dynamic youth ratings. What does that mean? Well, let's have a look in FM21. If you look at a national team, every nation has a youth rating. This is essentially a number between 1 and 200, which determines how good the players are that they produce when you get to the era of new gens. Now, why is dynamic youth ratings a big deal? Well, if you're doing a builder nation, like I did most recently in Sweden on Twitch, where we stream all the time, you'll know that in previous years, you could make, I don't know, Sweden the best nation in the world of football, but that youth rating number never went up. It never changed. And as a result, you wouldn't see better players come through. I realise that for about, I don't know, 90% of Football Manager players, you don't get 10 years into a save game ever, so this doesn't really matter to you. But to me, it's bloody massive. And it really has made me reconsider what saves I'm going to be doing going into this year in Football Manager 2022. So it's been a few years since we had new player roles in Football Manager, but in FM22, the wide centre-back makes his debut. I don't know what else I need to say about this. Should we have a look at some gameplay of wide centre-backs? Because I had a little bit of a play with it. I had Jack O'Connell playing for Sheffield United. The wide centre-back is essentially a wide centre-back in a back three when you're playing with three centre-backs who will look to get forward, can be played on defence, support, or attack, and really can, I think, open up some interesting avenues of tactical decision-making. In these examples, you can see what I'm able to do with Jack O'Connell. The positions he takes up just wasn't possible in previous Football Managers, and I think anything that enables you to be more creative with your tactics, perhaps go in with new tactical approaches, can only be a good thing for the game. And it seems like it's going to be a really, really good role this year. I had a lot of success with it, trying it out, and I'm sure many of you, like me, are looking forward to giving it a go once the full game comes out. Okay, so the penultimate feature on this list is the overhaul to scouting and transfers. And you might be sat there thinking, an overhaul to scouting and transfers? There's not been an overhaul to scouting and transfers, Jack. What are you talking about? Look, you're kind of right. They've not talked about this much, Sports Interactive, but for me, this is pretty big. So it's there's two components to this. First and foremost, there are now transfer price ranges. It's a bit unrealistic for players to just have a singular value, right? In terms of this player's worth 70 million, this player's worth £12,000. Like, that's not how football works. Price ranges are a thing. The market is not definitive. Very often, the value of a player is determined by his value to the team that he's playing at. And Football Manager has pivoted in that. And I think it's really going to change how you try and sign players. Now, as a result of this, there's other aspects of the game that have changed. So, for example, when you scout a player, no longer are they given a recommendation between 0 and 100. Instead, they're given a grade. Real-life football isn't like a video game where scouts are going to give you a number between 0 and 100 to rate a player. That's just not a thing. A report card, I think, is a much better way of doing things. And with those changes also comes the added importance now to talk to agents. So, for example, in this clip you're seeing in front of you now, Emre Can, I'm looking to sign for Bayern Munich, and I want to sign him. So I look at his transfer ranges and I think they're interesting. I wonder if he's worth anything less. And I can go and ask the agent, and the agent will come back and say, hey, this is what we think the player's worth. This is what they think Dortmund are going to want for him. And as a result, it's a lot more dynamic. It's a lot less matter of fact. There's going to be more of a bargain hunt element, I feel like, to how transfers work this year. These changes to how you scout and sign players are going to be pretty massive in terms of transfer ranges, in terms of report cards. It's also worth noting on scout reports, there's a few new things that will be shown if a player is in the middle of their domestic season at the club they play for. The game will say, hey, their club probably aren't going to want to sell their man midway through the season. I just feel like all these little changes are going to alter stuff. No longer are you going to be able to just sort all the 16-year-olds in the world by value and hope that the players towards the top are the better players. Scouting's going to become more important. The scouts you have are going to be more important. And I think the variance that you see in terms of the kind of prices you're paying for players is going to be a little bit more dynamic. And I think in turn, it's going to make the game perhaps a little bit more hard. I feel like in FM22, it's going to be, I guess, easier to make mistakes in the transfer market. And that, for me, is an exciting thing. It's also hopefully going to alleviate the situation where you go and try and sign a youngster and then the other team come back and go, we want 120 million. Because this year, if a player isn't available for sale, the club will just say, hey, there is not a price that we're willing to sell this player for. All in all, small changes, I will admit, but I think they're going to make a big difference to how you play Football Manager. That's always really exciting to me. And finally, in at number 1, we have the Data Hub. Now, my word, I'm not skeptical of this, but I kind of looked at it and thought, a lot of this stuff's already in the game. But I have to admit, I've not really used my analysts very much in FM21 and any previous Football Manager. I don't know about any of you guys. I feel like the analytics side of the game, it just never really felt that important. This year, it's in your face and it's more accessible than ever. So in terms of the Data Hub, you can look at your own team's performance. You can look at loads of scatter graphs, like the most ridiculous amount of graphs I've ever seen. I feel like I'm a business student suddenly when I go to my team page and I have it all neatly organized with the offensive stats, the defensive stats, the most recent game and possession kind of stats, all just laid everywhere. It's so satisfying to sort out. I mean, when you get your hands on it, you'll understand. Additionally, you can have your analyst collect data on your own specific players and compare them against other players in the league. In previous years in Football Manager, if I had two similar players, I would often just compare their attributes. This year now, becomes a little bit more easy to compare two players and their statistics. And at the end of the day, they are going to drive decision-making more and more. And I think that's a really cool thing. On top of that, I'm someone who's guilty of sometimes trying to play through Football Manager quickly. It's, I guess, what I have to do when I'm playing it on YouTube and streaming and doing daily videos. But at the same time, I kind of, when I really want to get into the game, I will have a look at opposition stats and stuff, but it just always felt so inaccessible. This year in the Data Hub, the opposition tab is a game changer. It's over on the right-hand side. It's tucked away a little bit, but if you go over to it, it really just condenses all the information that was spread across a lot of screens buried deep within Football Manager in a singular place. It also adds in some new information there, but I think this is really going to alter the way I play Football Manager. In having that data at my fingertips, I'm way more likely to use it to drive decision-making. If there's a specific weakness an opposition team have, if they're letting the ball enter the final third on a specific wing, I might now look to focus on that wing more. And whilst, of course, I could have done that last year, I think we're all guilty of being a little bit lazy when we play Football Manager. And I feel like in bringing this stuff to the forefront, in putting it in a place where it's very difficult to ignore, it can only really be a really great thing for the game. And for that reason, I think the Data Hub is the feature I'm most excited about this year. It has some massive new additions. It has loads of quality of life stuff. It's so customizable and so flexible. And it has me more excited than I thought it was going to have me. As I said, I was skeptical. I was wrong. I'm very interested to see what you guys make of it once you get hands-on with it too. But anyway, guys, that was my top 10 features for FM22. Of course, at the time of you seeing this, the game isn't out yet, so I have to say a massive thank you to Sports Interactive for giving me access and allowing me to post this video. There's a load of other FM creators who have also done some FM22 videos. You'll be able to find their stuff linked at the top of the comments. And of course, as I mentioned at the start, I am giving away a copy of FM22. In order to be in with a chance of winning that, leave a comment, let me know what your favourite new feature is. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I will be picking out a comment out at random in about a week's time. I will contact you and we will exchange deets and you'll have FM22 to hopefully play ahead of the beta. If you've enjoyed this video, do drop a like on it. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It might just be another FM22 video on the horizon that you may want to see. So stick around for that. And well, until next time, thank you for watching as always. It is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.